Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts Media, based here in Seattle, Washington, and thank you so much for joining me on this Tuesday, the 25th of March, 2025. And welcome to a special episode, special topic of What You Seek is Seeking You. This is something that features DREZ RYAN. We just started literally a week ago, last Tuesday, and our plan was to meet next month in April for our next session, but we got into a topic last week that we're both passionate about, have great memories of. So we decided that we'd kind of do this offshoot episode today. And I think that's how fluid this is, that for DREZ's particular recurring live stream series, that if we have another topic, maybe it's going to be football, because I think he's a football fan, and so am I. We might do one of these kind of offshoots that won't just stay with once a month. It's like whenever we feel like it and we have time in our schedules, then we're going to have some fun with a particular topic. And today it's about wrestling, as if you couldn't tell from the intro. So particularly the Attitude Era of WWF, WWE into like the early to mid 2000s is kind of our soft spot for us. I know there's all kinds of different other promotions. There's current things going on in the world of wrestling, but that's kind of what I know, and I believe that's also what he knows. So we're going to have a lot of fun just talking about the different wrestlers. I did find some paraphernalia, memorabilia, I guess you could say, of things I've collected over the years, all kind of from the same kind of 2001 to 2004, 2005 time period. I think I was talking to DREZ before we went live here that it's strange to think how long ago some of this was, because I didn't, in my head, it's like, it wasn't that long ago, was it? And then I see the date and I'm like, oh no, it was over 20 years ago. So it was longer, but that's okay. That's how much of an impact some of these moments had on me. And so we're going to have a whole bunch of fun with that. And before we do, typically I wouldn't go through all these things, but I do want to say, because I just had something happen today. This Thursday, on the 27th of March at noon Pacific, Jade Green is scheduled to join me. And I've never interviewed Jade. She has a beauty pageant background. She was doing that circuit for a long time. She was a professional NHL cheerleader. I forget which team it was. I need to do my research real quick. She's published several books, so she's an author, and she's currently in the adult entertainment industry. So this is going to be interesting. We have a lot to talk about. Anyone that knows how I do my interviews, when I hear people got all these kind of different things going on in their background, I want to dive into all of it. So it's going to be really, really interesting. So that, again, that's on Thursday at noon Pacific. And if this is your first time joining me on my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. A week ago, I hit 3,000, and as of today, I think I'm at 3,016. So hey, 16 more subscribers. That's great. And if you're on the Twitch side of things, if you could follow me over there, that's also wonderful. And I want to thank Joshua. He was the first tip of 2025 that I received last Tuesday through PayPal Me and Venmo. Those links are directly in every live stream video that I do. Josh, we thank you so much for your donation. I really appreciate it. It's going to keep this whole live stream thing going. And any dollar amount is appreciated. And again, if you're strapped for cash like I am, then subscribing to the YouTube channel or following me on Twitch won't cost you a penny. And that absolutely helps me as well. All right, so let's get into some wrestling. And without further ado, I need to bring in the star of this recurring live stream, actor DREZ RYAN.
Star, huh?
There he is.
I'll take it, man. What's going on, brother?
Not much. Good to see you after a week.
No, right? I was expecting not to see your mug for another 3, but it's nice.
Yeah, no, it's really good to have you here. And like we were talking about, for people that missed out on the live stream from last week,
Yeah.
somehow, and we veered all over the place last week, which is awesome. We landed into wrestling, professional wrestling.
Yeah, we just happen to both have a fondness.
Yeah, and like we were talking about, so like for you, for that period, if it's the Attitude Era or a little bit into the 2000s, you experienced it from a different age than I did. Like how young were you when you first were starting to watch wrestling? I can't remember what you said.
Yeah, man. I can't. This thing. I'm trying to remember if my dad got me into it, if I just stumbled upon it. It's hard to remember, but my memories of wrestling go as far. I told you this off air, but I used to have. Remember the Tonka toys are like this tall stuffed things. They just stood like that. They didn't move. I had Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. And my dad actually taught me how to box with those. He would like put them up in my face and like go like that and make them hit me and like maybe hit them back and stuff like that. So he would teach me how to fight with them. And then also I had those like 6-inch rubber figurines that had Andre the Giant, I had Ultimate Warrior. I had George the Animal Steel. Oh man, who else did I have? Might have had Superfly. I don't know if I should have had Superfly. He was one of my favorites. But so my memories of wrestling go back before my time. Like my initial introduction were wrestlers that were way before my time. So it's like I don't know when in in the the catalog I started really watching. But I mean, as far as I can remember, I've always kind of had a fondness, and it's always been a presence in my life, at least. Just like boxing. Boxing's always been a presence. My dad was really into boxing. He used to, teach me how to box. So same thing. It's just always kind of been a part of my life.
Okay, see, so that's where there's something different, because like for me, when I was younger, even into my teenage years, I wasn't following wrestling. I knew who some of the big folks were at the time, but it wasn't something I was into.
Yeah.
I fell into wrestling, and I distinctly remember this because back in like with the late '90s, things like ESPN Sports Center, they did not cover wrestling. They thought it was.
Dude, I forgot about that. Yeah, ESPN like news outlets they were not about covering wrestling. I mean, I get it. I mean, it is they're scripted. I mean, but at the same time, they're still freaking athletes, man. Guys are freaking athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that are, on the younger side here watching this, yeah, there was a time when ESPN, they would not cover that kind of thing because it was sports entertainment. So they didn't want to, it wasn't real sports. But I remember they showed the clip from the very end of like the last minute of a Sports Center episode of the Hell in the Cell with Mankind and the Undertaker.
Man.
Damn
thumbtacks.
Yeah, the thumbtacks, that infamous throw from the top of the cage where Foley went down onto the announcer's table. Yeah. He gets back in there, he gets slammed from the top of the cage.
And you want to talk about wrestling not being real? Look at Mick Foley right now. Dude can't tie his shoes. You tell me that's just not real? It's real. Yeah. They're putting themselves through some real shit.
Yeah. I saw that whole thing too, where he's talking about he can't get on his knees. And that's very, very real, and all those things that he went through. But I remember they were showing that, and they're like, "This is what the WWF at the time is doing tonight," and they showed that clip. And I'm like, "There's no way that's fake." That's what I kept thinking in my head. There's just no way.
You can't fake a 15-foot fall. You just can't. We had no CGI and nothing like that.
Right. That fucker got pushed off that cage and landed
legitimately.
And that got me interested in Mick Foley and all his personas. Like, who is this guy?
Dude Love, freaking obviously. Was it Dude Love, Mick Foley, Mankind? He had another one. He had one more.
Cactus Jack.
That's it, Cactus Jack. Thank you.
Yeah, and so I. At one point, I remember he self-penned his first book. He wrote it himself, didn't have a ghostwriter. And I read the book, and that's what kind of got me interested in the behind-the-scenes part of wrestling, not so much what it was being shown on TV, on Raw and SmackDown and pay-per-views. Yeah. So I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. This guy was just like an average person. He wasn't even athletic, coming up.
But you ever hear what he talked about, how he wanted to be like kind of like a sex symbol, kind of like a sexy kind of thing, and that's where the Dude Love character came from?
Yeah.
I was like, and I love the confidence. Don't get me wrong, I love the confidence, man. He's like, yeah, I'm going there. I'm gonna be sexy and cool.
Yeah, there's that old VHS, home movie they had of him being Dude Love when he was like a teenager. And it's like he's like the goofiest looking dude or whatever.
And became one of the best ever.
Yeah, he was so into it and just stayed with it and did all that hardcore training that he did with Danucci and then just paying his dues. I mean, just every lift. And again, like you were saying, he's paying them now. He can't physically do certain things. Yeah. When I got to that,
I got nothing but respect for those guys, man. I mean, obviously the entertainment value they provided for me throughout my life was incredible, but it's just like watching what they do. And honestly, as I've gotten older, I've gotten more interested in the people that are these figures that I grew up, watching and hearing their stories and some of the things that they go through and the stuff that like you said, you don't see on Raw and SmackDown, like the life of being on the road and performing every night and going and not seeing your family and then getting hurt and losing, being afraid you're going to get cut from the roster. And then, of course, you throw in steroids and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, it's like, man, it's a tough gig, brother. Like being a professional wrestler is a tough gig, man.
It is. And look, we have it's a run-in right now. Do you see who's coming down the ramp? Holy shit, I see.
We got a surprise Royal Rumble entry.
It's El Negro.
Yeah.
What's going on, Mark? How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Halcone?
Great.
That's
I
awesome.
heard we're gonna be talking about some wrestling.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's
Halcon,
awesome.
meet DREZ Ryan and DREZ meet Halcon Negro.
What's up, man?
DREZ, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Halcon Negro.
It,
I
it
love it,
means
man.
black. It means Black Hawk.
Black
Yeah.
Hawk. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
You gotta space out the K and the H.
Oh yeah.
It means Black Hawk. What? Black Hawk. Oh, okay. I got.
Keeping it PG.
Oh man, my bad. Sorry. Good. It's nice to meet you, man. Fantastic.
Hey, nice to meet you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So like, Halcon, maybe you can kind of tell DREZ and everybody else that's watching, what's your background in wrestling? Clearly, you're a luchador.
Mm.
Yeah, so I've been wrestling for a little over 10 years now. I was in the army for a little over 22 years. And I wrestled. I started wrestling while I was in the army. I chose the name Blackhawk because my best friend blew Blackhawk helicopters while we were in the
Nice.
army, and he was a huge wrestling fan, or he is a huge wrestling fan, and so am I. And when I decided to start wrestling, I told him, "Hey, I'm going to start training. I'm going to be a wrestler," and I thought it would be just a really cool thing to, like honor our friendship. You know what I mean? And like take this journey together. So everything I do, I share with him. You know what I mean? I'm like, you know, live vicariously through me.
That's what's up. That's awesome, man.
That's awesome. And like we were just talking, Halcon, I don't know if you heard us backstage, but DREZ and I were talking about the injuries that Mick Foley has sustained over his career and how it's affected him now. And for yourself in your career, I know you mentioned before, as we've talked last year, that you've had some injuries of your own.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's that list look like?
So the biggest injury I had, but this wasn't due to wrestling. I actually broke my neck while I was in the army, and I had my C6, C7 replaced. I mean, and so that's huge, That's like
Starting off strong.
I mean, that's the big one, So I mean, that's very scary because,
Yeah.
who I didn't know what was gonna happen, but I'm a big believer in positive energy, positive thought, and the surgeon, he assured me that I was going to be able to continue my military career, and I just like modern science; they can do so many things. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, man.
And besides the neck, I've had 3 ACL reconstructions as well, and those are no easy, injuries to overcome, but. I mean, I'm just telling you, being positive is, I mean, that's half the battle right there, is not getting down on yourself, just taking everything one day at a time. And, you never know what you can do until, adversity is put right in front of you. And I believe people can overcome anything if they really want to and work hard.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And so DREZ, I saw Halcon wrestle. This was before the pandemic here, and so he's somebody that I've been following for a while. I just got to see him wrestle last summer.
I ain't gonna lie. I literally was trying to like quietly Google you while you were talking. I was like, I want to watch some of this shit.
Yeah, so he definitely does the high flying off the top rope.
I saw that mask. Like, he's got to be a flyer, man. Like, he's got to be up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one thing they tell you. So when I started, I mean, I'm a smaller guy, like 5'5", 165, 170 pounds.
Oh yeah, you flying. Yeah, you flying.
Oh yeah, right away, my trainer told me, you got to learn how to fly. You've got to learn how to fly. And honestly, I'm so glad that I did, because I mean, there's just no feeling in the world like flying through the air, and I mean, it's a leap of faith almost every time. But that adrenaline rush is like a drug. It's like nothing else.
Is there a moment? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was like, is there a moment like when you take off? Is there a moment where you feel like almost time stops, like you're up there and you reach that pinnacle and you're like, poof,
oh yeah.
Like, okay,
I mean,
yeah. I thought that's what it
'Cause,
looks like.
like if you like jump on my Facebook and you see all the pictures of me where I'm in the air, and
Yeah.
when you see it, it's almost, you think like, how's he gonna land? Like, where is
Yeah.
he gonna come down?
Yeah.
And you have to look down, and your peripheral vision is pretty limited when you're wearing a mask.
Man, so
So when you're up,
what's your go-to? Like, are you a frog splasher? Do you like swantons? Like, what's your thing?
oh no, so like because I'm a little older too,
Yeah, okay, okay.
So I normally just do a big splash from
Okay.
the top rope, do a code red from the top rope.
Yeah.
But what I really like to do is just like straight to headis, like the head scissors,
Yeah.
those kind of things. And I'll do that from anywhere. I can do it. I've done it from the stage at Washington Hall, so I'll jump
Yeah.
like from the stage
Yeah.
out and do it. I mean, it's because of my size, guys can really catch me almost from anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's I feel really blessed to, be in this position, because I am able to be like a high flyer,
So what's that relationship like between the flyer and the person that's getting landed on, person that's catching? What's that relationship like?
You've got to have a lot of faith in those guys. A lot of faith. But I mean, I'll tell you.
Like, you gonna catch me, right? Yeah.
I mean, but the guys that I work with, most of the time, they are so unbelievable. I mean, the way they can just, they're so strong. I mean, I am small, like a smaller guy, but
Sure.
I mean, 170 pounds is still a lot.
Yeah, no, that's
to be flying through the air at you.
Yeah.
You
got force and velocity going on, like, yeah.
Yeah, and these guys are just so good, and they're so professional. They're so well trained that, I mean, it's just like they're snatching me out of the air, and whipping me around.
There's a story, Mark, Will Sasso from Mad TV.
Yeah.
He's a big wrestling fan, huge wrestling fan. He does this podcast. I forget the name of it all the time. It's a wrestling podcast. But he talked about when he got to go on, I think it was Raw. He Raw or SmackDown back when he was on Mad TV, and he did a spot with, I believe it was Kane. I want to say Kane. And Will Sasso's a big guy. He's like 6 foot, big guy, and he talks about how Kane was able to do basically whatever he wanted with him and not hurt him, like literally do things that look like they hurt. But he wouldn't. He would land so softly. I'm like, how are you controlling some other grown man's body weight? Like, he's like, how do you? He's 300 pounds. That's a big freaking dude, man.
Oh
so
yeah,
I can imagine with you, like the magic that you can create with a big, strong guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when you see Rey Mysterio and they just like flip him around and whip him around, you know, and it's almost like they're playing with their child or something.
Yeah, it looks like it, man. These guys are incredible, as you are, man. I mean, it's man. I always as soon as I found out you were a flyer, I thought of Brock Lesnar doing that flip and landing on his neck. Oh my gosh, dude, that was tragic. Like, I remember watching that as a kid, and just like I don't think it registered that he was hurt, but just seeing it, I'm just like I'm like trying to figure out, was that supposed to?
Oh yeah,
it was not supposed to happen. Sorry, go ahead.
That's the scary thing is that everything you do in there is like, it's like split second. There's no retakes, and it's obviously like all live, and an accident can happen at any time,
Yeah, I was there, DREZ, at the WrestleMania 19. That's when that happened.
You were at that thing?
Yeah, so I mean,
oh my gosh, dude!
This is a good way to put some memorabilia in here. So there's
there
my
you go.
autograph.
There he is.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude! That's a specimen. Like,
so I met him. I met Brock.
Yeah, well, yeah, you met him, and he didn't hurt you, luckily.
Yeah, and thankfully I'm still here. I could tell a side story to that. But So I was sitting in the Terrace Club at where the Mariners played. That's where WrestleMania 19 was.
Okay.
And so we're pretty far away. And my friend was not into wrestling. He just said, well, it's just some big deal. I've heard about WrestleMania. It's like a Super Bowl. I'll go see it. And so, but for me, being a hardcore wrestling fan at that time, we had heard that Brock down in the developmental territory had been working on a shooting star press. And people were like, a guy that size is coming off the top rope, flipping himself around and landing on his opponent. And so, well, when we saw him slowly going to the rope and kind of looking at it like he's going to climb, a bunch of us like, oh shit, he's actually going to do it right now, because he had not done it in WWE yet.
Yeah.
So it's like he was waiting for this big, huge moment at WrestleMania to do that. And he climbs up there, and Kurt Angle is way too far away from him for him to flip around and land on him. And then he got himself a nasty concussion. Right there, live in front of the entire world, because that's their biggest event that they do for the entire season of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And then Kurt had to kind of talk to him about, can you just lift me up and do an F5 and we'll just end this match? And he didn't even know what was going on. He had no.
Yeah, he was gone. He had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, lights are on, nobody home.
It's like that Stone Cold power driver, man. Like he like after he took that power driver from was it Owen Hart?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know. It was like there was minutes like I don't know what was going on. I was just they talk about like the pain shooting down his spinal cord and I was like, oh my god, dude. Whew.
Yeah. Well, and then with Falcone having a broken neck, so
yeah.
Yeah.
Back to that.
I've had like a couple of scary moments in the ring where I've been on the top rope and I've jumped off to do a tejedas, like a head scissors where they swing you around, and the guy that has caught me sort of stumbled, and as I'm whipping down, it just put me straight into the mat, know? And you're whipping around 100 miles per hour, and then it's just like a sudden stop, and they just. Thankfully, I've never been injured to where I couldn't complete a match.
Okay. Oh, wow. You finished after that?
Oh yeah. So I mean, when that happens, everybody is great professionals. My partner checked on me right away. It was a tag match. So my partner checked on me right away. I just rolled to the outside, gathered myself, like knew where I was and, knew where we were in the match and that kind of thing. And then, a few deep breaths and then we're back into it, But I mean, yeah, it's all it takes is a second, because it's dangerous out there.
Yeah.
Especially when you're flying. That's
What are those moments like? Like, what are you telling yourself when you're trying to like get your bearings back after you take a blow? Like what are you doing? Like, what is going through your mind at that time? Do you even remember? Like, is it? Are you thinking, or are you just trying to find yourself in those moments?
Oh no! Like time slows down. Like what happens to me is, it's like I'm in the army again, and I do a quick punch-in check. You know what I mean? And I just check on myself. Like I do a head-to-toe assessment real fast. Like I know I'm okay.
Yeah.
I know I'm not injured. You know what I mean? Like nothing is really damaged. Let me take a second and just calm down, catch my breath. And get back into it.
Yeah,
man. Seriously, gotta applaud that, brother. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's such a hard hustle. I don't know how many documentaries I watched about professional wrestlers and those moments that happened in the ring. I'm thinking about one where Mick Foley was wrestling Triple H. I think it was a hardcore match, and then part of a piece of wood went through the lower part of Triple H's leg, and you could see it sticking out of there during the match, and he's like bleeding all over, and he's kind of limping. But then they finished the match. He's like, "We gotta finish this thing." And it's like, holy crap, that's ridiculous. But those guys, I mean, they do so much to entertain the fans. I mean, they suck it up and find a way, and then who knows how long it took them to recover from that.
Yeah,
I think I saw a video of that. They showed when he went to the back. I think they had to pull it out, and they bandaged him up, and he was like just a bloody mess.
Yeah, exactly. And I know there's times that Kurt Angle, they had a line with him where he got smacked into, I think it was the announcer's table, and it didn't give, so he didn't smash all the way through it, and he got a really nasty concussion. And then I can't remember who was wrestling, but his partner had to basically lead him all the way through the rest of the match because he didn't know where he was or what was going on. So it's like, Kurt, do this. Hey, I'm going to put you over there. Hey, do this now. And then I'm going to do my finishing move on you, and then we'll get back home and get out of here. He's just like, I don't know. I don't know how I finished that match. I ended up in the back room, and the next thing I know, I was in the hospital.
Oh. Side note, I just
go
so
ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead, man.
Oh, no.
You got
I
better
was
stories
just
than I do.
saying, I'm too old for that. I don't do any of the hardcore stuff. Like I know guys that like use staples and all kinds of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And I see
Well,
him
that's how
backstage, and
that's how Rock got his bona fides he did that hardcore match with Foley.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it was like, oh, he's okay.
Yep. I'm like, oh man.
All right.
Yeah, I've seen people backstage like pulling staples out and everything, and I'm just like, oh man, like you guys are like.
I mean, the madmen, they're true showmen at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's that's what it is. Like you talk about these guys, getting wood in their leg and staples, and getting tossed on your head, and it's just like, but there's an element of like the show must go on. Like it's like there's always that, and that's why I respect it so much. As wrestlers, anybody that can in a moment in a high pressure situation realize that there is something bigger happening outside of themselves.
Oh yeah.
And they can push through whatever that thing is, physical, injury, mental, and then they just like, nah, I'm gonna boom. It's just beautiful, man. It's beautiful to watch, brother. It's beautiful to watch y'all do what y'all do, man.
Yeah, no, and I'm thinking too. I mean, like, and here's also from the WrestleMania with Kurt, so I got his signature there.
Awesome.
He had a busted neck during his WrestleMania match with Brock.
Yes.
And
I do remember hearing about that.
Yeah, it looked like it wasn't going to happen. He got some sort of kind of Band-Aid solution. So he's, no, I think I can still do it. And I'll get the surgery once we're done with WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that's just because that was actually the match I was looking most forward to on that card at the time. I want to see these two finally go out. They both have that amateur background, a gold medalist, college for Brock. And it's like, let's see these guys go at each other. And then Brock was healthy, but then Kurt wasn't. So I'm like, oh, is this even going to happen? And I still remember when I met Kurt at the Fan Access, I said, how's your neck? And he says, hurts like a motherfucker. That's what
every day. Every day.
Yeah. He said, it hurts like a motherfucker, but I'll be there Sunday. That's what he said. So I'm like, all right, man. I can't wait to see the match.
I literally just watched a video today of Kurt talking about Brock Lesnar when he came to the WWE, and he talked about how before a show one night before it was like the rehearsal, they're in the ring, doing their thing, and they actually went at it. Like they legit wrestled each other. And Kurt was like, I beat him, but not by much. He's like, he's a freak of nature, man. Like it's like, yeah, Kurt's a Olympic gold medalist, and Brock only, he wrestled through college. And like, so you think like, all right, that's a big gap. Like Kurt's like, nah, fucking strong, man.
And Brock is so big. I mean, that dude is. I remember a match where he wrestled Rey Mysterio and he picked Rey up by his leg. Do you remember that? He just held Rey Mysterio by his leg, and I was like, oh my god.
Rey Mysterio dude, I used to, oh my god. See, now you talking my language, man. I was like, 11 when I'm watching Rey do his thing and stuff like that. And it's just watching him and Big Show go at it was the best shit ever.
Oh yeah. You put him on the stretcher, you remember?
That was the best stuff ever, man. Like, and there was no back down in him, man. Like, he was in there with those big dudes doing everything he did with a small dude. He didn't care, man. He was doing it, man.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about one of the best matches for me that Ray had was with Eddie Guerrero in WCW. I mean, when Ray was coming up before he went to WWE, those two, man, putting on a show. Oh, yeah. Night after night, and some of the pay-per-views they had, holy moly!
Yeah, I think it was a Halloween Havoc.
Where that's the one.
He was like wearing all purple, like a purple gear.
This is the only shit that I hate about wrestling talk, because I was such a diehard WWF fan. I refused to watch WCW. I refused. I did. I literally was like, I ain't watching that shit. Nope.
Oh,
nope. I'm a hard-headed guy though.
To me, the big difference or the big thing that WCW had was the cruiserweight division, because they had all the luchadors over there. They had Psychosis.
My favorite was the kid. What was his name? Billy
Kidman. Yeah, Billy Kidman.
He was my favorite. I used to love Billy Kidman.
Yeah,
man.
They had all those guys. Like they were the meat of the show. Like they were carrying the show, and then like the NWO and stuff would be like the main
Mhm.
event or whatever. But
Right.
Yeah, well, like I was mentioning to Drez that he was watching these things and being a part of that world, and I didn't get into it till much later as an adult. So I didn't grow up watching WCW. I'm watching this stuff after the fact, 15 years later on DVD or on streaming things. But I do remember that one of the things, especially, and I think I have that DVD here. I'm trying to make sure I segue into all this stuff since I pulled all this shit out.
Speaking of
yeah.
DVD, oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Monday
Oh,
Night
yeah,
War.
there you go.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah.
Bischoff.
Yeah, exactly. The Monday Night Wars, for people that weren't familiar with that time, is when
It was real.
WCW.
It was real.
Yeah, WCW was coming up, and then they started overtaking WWE in terms of the ratings. They started basically killing them in the ratings every week, and then eventually WWE kind of got the upper hand, ended up buying WCW, and then brought it into their own brand. Eric Bischoff, that was the GM of WCW, I met him at WrestleMania.
Nice.
And he was just it's interesting. He was just walking around. He wasn't doing like a special signing behind a table or a photo thing. He was just kind of walking around meeting fans. So I had a trading card with me of him. I was prepared. For this shit.
Yeah.
Always got to be ready. Always got to be ready.
Yeah, so I paid money to get into this thing. Now, come on now. I want to get as many autographs as I can. And I just remember him genuinely like staring me in the face and asking me, what do I think about his time in WWE? Am I enjoying it? Am I a prick? How do you like my character of Mr. Bischoff in WWE? I said, no, I think it's great because you bring so much knowledge to this this program that it can only make it better. And the fact that you didn't have an ego to the point that you're like, no, screw those guys. I'm not going to ever work for them. You're like, no, I'm going to do this because now I don't have to take all the responsibility. Vince has to take all the responsibility for what happens. And he laughed about that. He said, you know what? That's exactly why I'm here, because I'm having fun. I don't have to be the big guy. I don't have to be the bad person here in terms of all the wrestlers looking to me about what's my storyline like? How come I'm not getting a raise? He's talent just like anybody else. And I also, at that time, I didn't realize he has a black belt and he's got a bunch of other legitimate things in his own background. So he could hurt you. But he was awesome. He was awesome to talk to. And I'm just, again, this nerdy Asian guy by myself with a trading card. So I know I still have the summary. I know he signed it. I put it into a little sleeve. But it was cool because he was the only one that was actually walking around. Everybody else kind of had their times on the schedule where they're going to be, that kind of thing, or if they're a surprise in the ring. But he really wanted to kind of get to know the fans, which is awesome.
Well, since we talked about this earlier, Halcon, what was your introduction to wrestling? Like, what was your upbringing with it? What was your life with it coming up?
All right, so I'm gonna age myself just a little bit. So I was born in Texas and raised in Fort Worth, Texas, and so I started watching World Class Championship Wrestling.
Von Erichs, right?
Yep, the Von Erichs and Freebirds, and they recently made a movie about the Iron Claw, and so that was the first wrestling we watched, and we went and saw the wrestling in person there, and it was just like so awesome. Like that, it came on like I think Saturday night or whatever it was, and like my family would watch wrestling, and we just absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And so we were there like right when WWF became big, and we started watching WWF and Hogan and Macho Man and all of that stuff. So I feel like I was born at the right time to just go on the whole ride with, the whole, evolution of wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was a teenager when like the NWO was happening, and so it was like super cool at the time. And
golden age in my book, anywhere from like the 80s, mid 80s to 2000. I'm just like, that's
well, I'll tell you, in the 80s, the curtain wasn't lifted on wrestling, and
I have heard that like it was actually there was still kind of like that, that veil.
Yeah, there was a clear separation between backstage and what we saw on the show, and out like from a fan's perspective, I think that was really great because it made you love the good guy, made you hate the bad guy. Thought of them.
That's why that thing with Triple H and all them was such a big deal when they were caught, being all buddy after the show, and it was like, oh, they don't hate each other. That was like the start of that, where people were like, wait a second, These
Yeah.
guys don't actually. Oh shit.
There was a little, crack in the,
Yep,
in the,
just a little bit.
you know, but I mean, yeah, I've loved wrestling since I was a little kid.
Nice.
The Von Erichs made me love it. The Freebirds made me love it. Those guys were so bad. They would come to the ring, playing Freebird, and there was this whole Texas, Georgia thing, because they were from
Mm,
Atlanta. The Von Erichs
mhm.
were from Texas, and there was just like this real big hate. And I mean, those guys would get in the ring, and I remember watching it, just like my jaw hitting the floor, because they'd be in their blue jeans and cowboy boots, and somebody
It's
would take
Texas,
off their
man.
belt. Yeah, they'd take off their belt and start whipping them. They'd take off their boot and start hitting them.
Yeah,
And I'd just be like, oh my God, this is like like a street fight,
yeah, man. That's
But
great.
yeah, that was the intro, and never looked back.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I think Stone Cold talked about going to the Sportatorium in Texas and
Yeah.
watching the Von Erichs and everybody. And when he started getting trained, he was getting trained down in Texas.
Stunning Steve Austin.
Stunning Steve Austin. I think Shawn Michaels even wrestled there a couple times.
He is
Yeah.
from Texas. I know he's from Texas.
Yeah, he's from San Antonio. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was just like Shawn Michaels, regular trunks, regular.
Yeah,
kid.
before HBK, he was actually before Stone Cold and Rock broke. I was all HBK. It was all Shawn Mike. I thought he was the coolest thing on two legs, man. He's like his dances were goofy as shit. He did a bunch of this hacky shit, but it was like, nah, this motherfucker's as cool as hell, man. He's got the the damn near military spangled, shit on his shoulders, and he had the best biceps. Like when he was younger, his biceps were so cut when he would get to the middle of the ring and they go like that, and the fucking sparks would go. I'm like, this motherfucker's a superstar. I don't care what you say.
he was one of the first cool heels.
So cool,
when
man.
he turned on his partner.
Yeah,
on, Marty
we did with
Jannetty
the Rockers.
Yeah. And when he turned on Marty Jannetty and threw him through the barbershop window.
No, he kicked the shit out of him.
Yeah.
He super kicked him through the barbershop window. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's great shit. Yeah, no, Shawn Michaels was a shit, man. Like that was my guy, and then obviously once he hooked up with Triple H and the Degeneration X started kicking up, I'm just like, all right, come on now. Now we're just cheating. Now y'all playing with in-house money. This is too good, man.
Yeah, that whole like in the 90s, there was really a switch to where the bad guys, the heels, like they became cool, and it just became cool to cheer for the Rudos, for the bad guys.
Well, that's literally why that was so hard for Rock and Steve to get off, because they were doing the baby face thing, trying to be the classic come up way, but then they were like, nah, I gotta, like Rock tells that story about like like we're talking about last time, and then we got with the Generation X, and he asked Vince before he went on, like, hey, just give me the mic for 5 minutes. What I'm saying? Just let me talk. And then Steve Austin, obviously he does his historic Austin 316 just said, I whipped your ass. Like that's them coming through. And then all of a sudden it's just, now, but that kicked it off. It's like, nah, say what you got to say. Don't try to, hey, I'm happy to be here. And I'm the, like, nah, fuck these guys.
Yeah, well, and then they talked about that was really that turning point when WWF adopted that Attitude Era. That's when they started catching up to WCW, and then eventually overtook them. So they went there.
Yeah, they did go there, man. I was watching that clip of remember what was her name? There was the two older ladies that used to be the reoccurring characters, like May. I think it was May. They used to be wrestlers back in the day, obviously.
Mae Young.
Mae Young.
Yeah,
yes,
Mae Young.
Yeah, and that time where she got put through a freaking table. I'm like, you're putting like obviously she's an entertainer, she's an athlete, she knows what she's doing, but she's also an 80-year-old woman. And you're doing this on live television. You're putting an 80-year-old woman through a table on live television, but it was fantastic television, though. It was great.
Yeah, no, and I'm thinking about who else do I have here? You mentioned this wrestler before, DREZ.
Mm-hmm. Big Red Machine. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
the big red machine. And one thing I learned from Fan Access, and this was actually different. He was actually at a Kmart because Kmart was one of the sponsors of WWE.
Okay.
And seeing these guys in person,
Mhm.
I mean, they look big on TV, and you can see their stats and all this kind of stuff. But
Sure.
seeing them actually in person, like, oh man, you're like a tree. I mean, you're just
Yeah.
so big. And I used to volunteer with a young man that had disabilities, and he was a big wrestling fan. But his parents, like, they did not want to take him to a wrestling event. And so when they met me, they're like, Mark, did we hear right? Did you say that you kind of like going to wrestling events? I'm like, I've been to a few. I was like, oh, would you like to take our son to one of them?
Because we're not going. So
yeah, exactly. We're not gonna go. I said, yeah, absolutely. I have a good time with those things. So I said, that's why we're going to be a really good match. And I asked if he would be okay standing in line to meet Kane. And that's when they were like, he's probably okay at the show, not standing around for an hour, waiting around for someone who is eventually going to show up. So unfortunately, he didn't meet him. I did get something signed for him.
Oh, okay.
But that's why I told Kane, I said, yeah, my young partner that's in the Big Brother program, he couldn't be here right now, but he's going to be at the show tonight. It was like a SmackDown taping. And he said, oh, really? So he signed his name to it and said, make sure you say hi to him for me. And I'm like, I absolutely will. So here's this big, huge dude who's just like really nice and really polite.
Yeah.
And clearly very smart since he went into politics and everything else that he did. So, I mean, he's got a whole other career going on. But I remember him, like we talked about, with when Brock came out to his table at WrestleMania to the Fan Access. I'm like, holy shit, that dude is just ginormous.
Yeah, it's hard to fathom, man. It's like, yeah, you see the stats. Oh, he's 6'6" or whatever, or 6'7", and he's 300 something. So it's like, oh yeah, he's a huge dude. And then you're like, oh no.
Yeah. Well, and then throwing each other around in the ring and doing all those moves and all the athleticism. And here's the story that I was going to mention about when I met Brock and got that picture signed. There was a young man that was in a wheelchair. I don't know how old that kid was, but he was probably maybe 12 or 13. And Brock came from behind his table and came down there and got like eye level with that kid and shook his hand and took a picture and signed something for him and was so nice to him that somewhere, and I don't know if it's from Vince or whatever, when they're doing official events like that, it's drilled into them to be like as present and as forward with the fans as you possibly can, because every single one of them were like that. It wasn't like someone going like, I don't want to be here. Oh, here, kid, I'll just sign this and get out of here. Who's the next fan that I got to sign? Nothing like that at all. And I was always impressed by that. I was always impressed that, if you meet these guys in those official capacities, they're going to treat you right. Because sometimes, I've met musicians, I've met other people, they're not like that.
I mean, you made a good point. It's got to be a culture thing, like you said. Like, it's got to be something they really nail away. Like, yo, this is your bread and butter. The people. These are the reason why we all have a job. They're the reason. So when they come up to you and they're ecstatic to see you because they don't know, they're seeing their superhero in person. They literally are seeing their superhero in person, and you don't want to ruin that for them.
I know for us, for us, like after the shows, there's always a flock of kids, that come up, and we just hang out there because we want to make the kids happy. The kids are number one, and they're there. They're so excited, seeing us fly all over the place. They come up after the shows, and they're like, "Oh, you're the best! You're the best!" Even if you lose, they're like,
how can
so
you turn
excited.
your nose up at that, man? How can you turn your nose up at that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really great feeling, to know that you're making, these kids' day.
Literally, like the stories we're telling, like all these stories we're telling of this and that, we saw this was so crazy. You're that for that kid.
Yeah.
You're literally like all this thing. I'm getting excited thinking about The Rock and Shawn Michaels. Blah, blah, blah. You're that for some kids. Some kids like, man, I saw how Negro you did it. Blah, 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 blah. Like you can't shit on that, man.
Yeah, and it's not just the kids. You have old kids like me that show up.
Hey, man, I'm with you, brother. We out here.
Yeah, I remember when I saw Hal Cohn wrestle again last summer, that when my mom and I got there, there's people all the way around the ring already. And we're like, damn, I didn't know how many people are going to show up to this event, but there's already people here, which is great. I want to see more people than not more people. But yeah, like Hal Cohn said, I was eyewitness many, many times of watching local wrestling here. As soon as the last match is up and the house lights go up, kids are either in the ring or they're looking for their wrestlers, and then you have wrestling fans like me, and we're trying to get pictures and we're trying to get stuff with the wrestlers, and it's just it's so interactive, and we know that even from the WWE side of, you got your signs up there at the arena and everything else, so you feel like you're a part of it, and I know that's got to be something that, again, Vince and the administration there just said, make sure that you're doing the right thing with your fans. Again, if you catch somebody at an airport, and you still try to be nice to them, but official things, man, you're like an ambassador for us. And like you said, that's a really great analogy about this is a real life superhero to so many fans out here. So treat them well. Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, like it's funny you just mentioned the airport thing. That the picture that I shared with Mark, with me and Chavo Guerrero. So that was backstage at a SmackDown in the early 2000s, and I saw Eddie, and I was like, oh, like Eddie's one of my favorite wrestlers, and I was just like,
Eddie's the man, yeah.
But he looked like he was in a deep conversation with his wife, so I didn't want to interrupt, and I didn't want to butt in and be like, hey, excuse me, Eddie, So, I just let the moment pass. And unfortunately, he passed away, and I never had the opportunity to meet him again.
How did you get back? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just started flashing Eddie Guerrero memories of watching him growing up. And it's like, he was the man. Lie, Cheat, and Steal was that character, that whole persona coming out in the low rider, hydraulics bumping, and the music, and the way his oh, that's dope.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Oh, that's dope, man. Gosh, that Joker had a neck on him too. He was jacked.
He was.
Like Eddie Guerrero was like, he wasn't super tall, but that Joker was jacked, man.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. Sorry. Yeah, but it's like, that whole persona, and his microphone game when he was on the mic, man, the dude was absolutely hilarious, brother. Like that's one of them goats right there for sure.
If I had to pick, I would say, like, just in my opinion, that he was the greatest wrestler of all time.
Hey, man, that's a tough argument right there. That's tough. Somebody say Eddie's the best. Is like, I don't want to say you're wrong. I don't want to.
And the thing with Eddie too is that he could go either way. I mean, he can do heavyweight wrestling. He can do flying wrestling with the smaller guys. He was so good on the mic, and if he was going to be a face or a heel, he could do both so well. That's what can't he do? Nothing.
Yeah, that's the thing is, he was so versatile, and like you said, he could do it all. And if you look back from when he started to to the end, I mean, just his body of work, I mean, it's just spectacular, and it's like so emotional, like when he finally got to win the title, and it's I mean, he really like took everybody on the journey with him, and it's like this big crescendo of a special moment.
Yeah. And Halcon, you mentioned that when you met Chavo that you were backstage at a SmackDown.
Oh yeah, so it was actually a friend of a friend got us back there. He was a guy, and I can't remember his name now. This was like in the early 2000s, and but they said, hey, just act cool, like you're supposed to be back here. So I didn't really like, Chavo was just kind of hanging out by himself at the time. And so I just kind of walked over, and I was like, hey, Chavo, big fan, kind of grab a picture. But like you were saying earlier, watching all the guys go by, I remember JBL walking past me, and I was just like, wow, what a huge person. Yeah. But the thing I really noticed, though, was how he labored when he was walking. Like his it looked like his knees were really bothering him, and I just thought, man, like the punishment this guy has probably put himself through over the years, and now it looks like it hurts when he walks, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's what we were talking about earlier, man. Like when you, like you said before, how, back in the day, the veil wasn't lifted. And we were talking earlier about, people talk about how ESPN used to not cover wrestling because it wasn't, actual sports, it's sport entertainment, blah, blah. And I'm just like, but the shit that they put their bodies through is very real. You
Oh
can't, like
yeah,
we're talking about Undertaker and Mankind. You can't fake a 20-foot fall. Like there's no,
yeah.
there's no like zhuzh in that. Like, oh yeah, he just kind of fell. Like no, that motherfucker fell 20 feet
Even
off the top of a
even the
cage.
I mean, even just getting in the ring and like speaking for lucha libre,
Mm,
even like getting in the ring, and even if our match is about 15 minutes, we're in there and we're running. We're
mhm.
running hard, running, jumping, flipping, rolling, flying, and like you can see my mask here. I have two little air holes, like
Yeah.
tiny ones, like barely. So, our cardio is through the roof. You know
So,
what I mean?
so what's your workout like? Like, how do you train? How do you prepare? What's that like?
Oh, I mean, I work out every day.
Sure.
Every day. I lift. Um, yeah, like every single day, and then we train on Sundays.
Hmm.
So
Do
we're
you?
in the ring every week, and go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, I was wondering how are you practicing like your like the real, obviously you just have to do it to get it good. Like so when you're practicing, your flying moves or your kind of more dangerous moves, like are you what do you do? Are you landing on pads? Are you like jumping from a lower height to kind of simulate it? Like how's that go?
Oh no, I'll tell
You
you,
just
and well, I can speak for Lucha Libre. I can't speak for
okay.
like American companies, but the way we do it, like it's rough. I mean, we train
Yeah.
like we're wrestling. Like,
Wow. So you just running shit, running matches, running
yeah,
moves, just
I
doing it.
mean, it's drills, 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 but the drills, you compile them together,
Yeah.
which helps you put a match together. But one of the things that we really work on is catching people,
Hmm.
or flying, because that's the one of the most important things in Lucha
Hmm.
Libre is, you see everyone doing topes to the outside. And if you watch, if you watch CMLL,
Okay.
the down in Mexico, you'll notice a little bit of a difference between them flying and like the American style
Okay.
of flying, to where, like if someone does a moonsault, more so like in the WWE, sometimes
Hmm.
they'll just kind of stick an arm out. You know what I mean? And the guy's really just kind of doing like a backflip and he lands next to him or something.
Hmm.
But, in Lucha Libre, we're really catching them, so it's like, a body
Yeah.
on a body.
It's a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, so I think probably one of the best athletes I've been in the ring with is Mecha Wolf.
Okay. It's a
If
dope
you
name.
ever, he was in the WWE for a short while, when they were doing he was Mr. 450, I believe, I think.
Ah, yep, I
And
see it.
so like if you see, like, this guy is an amazing athlete. I mean, and you can see how big he is,
He's a
right?
big guy. Yeah, he's a big guy.
And he gave me a tope to the outside, and I just thought, here we go. You know what I mean? I'm 170. He's like, I don't
Oh,
know what his listed weight is. He's got to be
he's at least
around.
he's got to be at least 200.
Oh well, yeah. So he, like, at his height, heaviest, he was like around 240. And when I was talking to him, he said he lost some weight, and I think he was around 225 or so.
Oh.
But
Oh, you're not
but
as huge.
uh, like if you look and you see when someone does like a tope, him to me, it's like a car wreck. You
Oh my
know,
God.
he's like running like 100 miles per hour. You know where they fly through the ropes,
Yeah.
and so him to me, and I gotta catch him. I gotta be prepared to take it, and like
Gotta,
that's when it gets rough. But
how'd that go?
it was like being in a car wreck.
That's exactly what it
I'll
was.
tell
Just being
you.
in the car wreck.
But I
Oh,
mean, we trained for it, we
yeah.
prepared for it, and it's
Mm,
just pretty awesome, like,
yeah.
and it gets the crowd super hyped.
Yeah. I bet, man. Oof. I bet there's no rush like that, man. Like when you're really going, you got your shit cooking, and that crowd's going crazy. I bet that rush is crazy, man.
Oh yeah, I mean it's the wrestling in front of people. They elevate you so much. Like pain goes away, fear goes away, everything goes away. You're just like in this euphoric state of like, we're in here and we're doing it. Every move is just like, building to the next one, to the next one, to the next one.
Yeah.
And the crowd loves it. And that's the most beautiful thing about wrestling is the fans, like you're on this ride together,
Yeah, no, that's I've been to, I think one of the first matches I saw back, I don't know if that was 2018 or 19, locally at Evolve, where Hal Konano used to wrestle there. I miss Evolve Gym. But it was like sweat dripping off the walls, the anticipation of every match through the card. I mean, people are just so into it. And it was like kids, parents, grandmas, all the Mexican snacks and the $2 beer, everything was there.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. That was my first experience. I went by myself because nobody else wanted to go with me. And I'm like, I'm going to go check this out. I was like, holy shit, how long have I been missing this? And it was so great to see people just all kind of becoming one in this entertainment ball, basically.
I'll tell you, like you said, Lucha Libre will bring out kids and their grandparents, and everyone in between. There's nothing like it.
Awesome. I was sitting in a row, and there was like a family in front of me, family next to me. There was a grandma and grandpa across the way over here. They had to get out of the chairs because people came flying out of the ring. It was awesome. I loved it, and so did they. I mean, and like you were mentioning about like with some of the Mexican promotions, there was a really interesting documentary on Tubi about a lot of the Mexican luchador wrestling promotions down in Mexico. So they were showing all the behind the scenes stuff with the wrestlers and also some really great ring action. And it was just like, yeah, you saw every type of person there, every age was there. It's just so ingrained in the culture.
That's what I was gonna ask, like, because with wrestling in America, now it's obviously it's more mainstream, but for the longest it was like bodybuilding. It's a subculture, So it's like obviously with luchador, lucha libre, like it's a legitimate part of the people's culture. Like it's not just a thing, like an offshoot or something over here. Like no, like that's kind of in the spectrum of things that we love and enjoy, that we like, how we like to express ourselves as a people. Like that's part of that.
Oh yeah, because it started a very, just sort of like in America how it was territorial, and Mexico, like the neighborhood, it was neighborhood entertainment, and then got bigger and bigger and bigger, and but I mean, like Santo, big movie star, and it's just like when people think of Mexico, they think of lucha libre. It's just a part of it.
That's true. This is me just being greenhorn here. Did they use real luchadors in the Nacho Libre movie? Were those real luchadors or just actors?
I think Ramses was a
luchador.
Yeah. And
okay.
I forget who he was though.
Okay.
I forgot his name. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. Yeah.
How is that movie viewed in the community? Like, is that like I got to ask that question. Like, I've watched it many times. I'm like, is this cool? Like,
I mean, I think it all just depends on people's perspective.
Did they at least respect the sport, like the lucha libre?
Yeah, I mean, I think they did as much as I mean, I think a little bit of it was a little like, I don't want to say insulting, but I mean, it was a little
kind of like a parody of what.
I think. Yeah, because I mean, if you think of lucha libre, you think of like, I mean, just take Eddie Guerrero's family. It's such a tradition based thing. And it's passed down, from generation to generation, and it really means a lot, and it just, like your mask is so sacred. Because I think in the movie, you know, they take his mask off, and it's almost like kind of like a joke a little bit, you know, when they take his mask off at the end. And but I mean, that's really like that's really something.
I remember when Rey Mysterio did it in WWE. I remember watching the episode and like waiting to see what he looked like. It was a big moment. Like I didn't understand the magnitude of what that meant as far in Lucha Libre, but it was just like I remember like as a kid watching him do it. Like, oh shit, I'm about to see Rey Mysterio's face. Oh my god, you know.
That's one reason why I really, really disliked WCW, because I felt like they really did a disservice to those guys by making them take their mask off. You know, him, Juventud, Psychosis, you know, they made those guys take their mask off, and I thought it was really unfair. There's one of the behind the scenes documentaries they did with that Halloween Havoc match. I think somebody wanted Ray to lose. It might have been Eric Bischoff. And Eddie said he was prepared to go out there and lose on purpose, just so Ray could keep his mask, you know, because it's that important.
Yeah.
You know,
like and Eddie's that type of guy too.
So like for me, this is the first mask that I wore when I first started trying to get it in there. But it's like super special because me and my wife sat up at the you know, at the dining room table, and we were just thinking, you know, what should my mask look like, and we came up with this logo, you know, and I wanted this to sort of replicate like a propeller, you know, for my buddy's helicopter, and then, you know, of course the star for the army while I was still in the military. But you know, I ended up making, you know, I have a bunch of those, that style. And what made it so special is that when my son started wrestling with me and him wore the same mask, you know. So after he was ready, you know, he wore this mask and we tag team together. And I think I got, yeah, here we go. So that's a picture of me and my son.
Oh man,
how is it? we are the Volcanica tag team champs up here. But like that's what's so special about Lucha Libre, as opposed to like the American style, I think. Because there's a lot of families now, I think, in American wrestling. You know, a lot of second generations have really got into it
now. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and in Mexico, it was always like that. You know, like your dad was a wrestler, chances are you would be a wrestler. You know, a luchador, and that's why it's like that's, to me, that's what makes Lucha Libre so special. You know, when I got my first mask, my professor, he called me because, you know, they make it in Mexico, and they shipped it up here. And my professor called and he asked me to come help him move some stuff at his house, you know? And I was like, oh, okay. You know, I got over there. He didn't need any help with anything. He wanted to present my mask to me. You know, he said, it just arrived and, you know, here it is. And so it's like, it's a very special thing.
Yeah.
And then, yes, this one that I'm wearing now. So after I got out of the army, I kind of wanted to change up. I wanted to go to a, you know, full mask. I wanted to grow my hair out. And a friend of mine, Abispa, she designed this mask, and she's trained here at Lucha Libre Volcanica, and she made it all the way to CMLL, you know, to wrestle down in Mexico. And so, you know, this was a special design too that I wear now.
Yeah, it's
and
beautiful.
that's oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
And like that's like that tradition, you know, when you see people talking about Lucha Libre and they always talk about that tradition, you know, there's always like a tie-in to everything, you know. Like 9 out of 10 times, you know, it's, you know, this mask was designed by so and so for this reason, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To represent this. You know, it's not like I got a lightning bolt because it looks cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I got water in Japanese, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, so
That's
it's
I think the
always
only
something.
thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, brother.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just thinking, like, the only thing I could think of that's even close to, well, I'm not in the business of wrestling, but from a viewership perspective, it's like the character of Gold Dust. That's like the only
Oh
thing
yeah,
that's, I feel like that's kind of close to that. Like that character was passed down, fathers, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, other than that, I don't think there's nothing like that in American wrestling. You know, it's like, it's such a, like it's what's the word I'm looking for? Not ancestral, but it's just like it's passed down,
yeah, and I think that's what makes stories like The Rock really special. You know, because he's
It's
third
third
generation.
third generation, third
Yeah,
generation. Yeah.
Randy Orton,
Hmm.
second generation. You know, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And you know that's what makes, I think, in wrestling really the story is, especially now since they sort of pulled the veil back, you know,
Hmm.
the stories are what's
Yeah.
really special.
Yeah, for sure, man. I agree with that.
Yeah. I kind of wish that I'd gone through that period when the internet didn't exist. So I didn't know the. I wish I could take wrestling for that perspective instead of the perspective that I know, because again, you got all these people planted outside of an arena and they're already reporting on their phones. They're like, so and so just drove up, so there must be some kind of special event.
Yeah.
And like, I don't
Yeah.
want to know that. The best thing.
Yeah, there's no more surprises. There's
No,
no more
yes.
surprises.
No more surprises. That's it,
Yeah.
man.
I'll tell you, if you ever get a chance, just like go back and look at when Hulk Hogan and Macho Man were a tag team. They were the Mega Powers,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
But then when they broke up because Macho Man was saying, you know, Hogan was trying to move in on Elizabeth. And there's a segment where they're fighting backstage. Like Elizabeth gets knocked out. Hulk Hogan carries her to the back to the medical, leaves Macho Man alone to fight the Twin Towers, right? Macho Man ends up going to the back and he freaks out on Hulk Hogan, right? But that, like, their fight is so good.
Yeah.
Macho Man like loses it. And you know, now that we know what we know about wrestling, it's just like, I mean, because I was a kid watching that, just in awe. Like, holy cow, this dude is losing it. You know?
Yeah, like legitimately though, like you believed it, like, oh, he's upset. And it's like, but it wasn't the fact that these wrestlers were such good actors, obviously. It was the fact that there was, like I said, the veil. There was that, like, oh, this is happening in front of me right now. This is live. Like, they're fighting. He's pissed about his wife. Hulk Hogan's trying to help her. It's like, but because of the veil, it was like, it was life. It was real life to us.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about talking about like surprises, and with the internet, it's so hard to surprise a wrestling crowd nowadays, or even back, 10, 15 years ago. I went to this pay-per-view here, No Way Out, from 2009, and this is when they had 2 elimination chamber matches in this pay-per-view, and I'm there with my mentorship young man, and you can actually see us like halfway up some certain camera angles where you can see us because we're right on the,
nice.
I was sitting there like, slow-moing, looking through it, and oh, there we are. And But what I remember is that the ending to the first elimination chamber match was a surprise. No one saw it coming. And it's like, holy crap, did Edge just win or did he just lose? It was something weird like that. And then they had the second one at the end of the card, and then they did another surprise at that one. It's like, and I love that kind of thing, just like most wrestling fans, because you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen. So-and-so is going to get the belt, or someone's going to get this, and this is going to happen. No, it was like shock to everybody. We're like, holy crap, did that just happen? So they managed to keep it under wraps enough that nobody knew what was going to happen at that thing. But yeah, it was great watching those guys do the spider climb on. I think it was Jeff Hardy who climbed to the outside of that elimination chamber cage and was jumping on people, and just holy crap, that was just. And plus, you get the whole countdown when the next person's going to get released from the elimination chamber. 5, 4, 3. The crowd's counting it, and then boom, whose light's going to come on, and then they come out. You're participating. You're one of those participants. You're yelling out those numbers too. So let's start doing the countdown.
And even like the little stuff, like you would get really into, the crowd get really into back then. Remember when they would go up get the guy in the corner and they get up on top of him and they do the punch. One,
Whoa.
two, three. It's like the whole crowd, like he's not even making contact, but it's like, hey man, it's like that shit was great, man.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, you get caught up in it. That's part of the fun. One of the I have to say this, that when I first went to I was part of a different mentorship forum where I was working, and this was 2002. My young man loved WCW, didn't really like WWE. I didn't know this stuff at that point. I was still kind of getting into it. I saw Raw was coming. I said, I think this is one of those things that he would like, so I bought tickets for it. Didn't know what to expect. I was gladly, surprisingly wrong about what I thought. I thought it was going to be maybe kind of dangerous and maybe a little bit racist at times and that type of thing with the crowd, being an Asian man like myself. And little did I know that Japan's got this rich history of wrestling and all this other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm there with my young man, and he's Mexican. He was in 7th grade at the time. He kept asking me, "Is Goldberg gonna be here? Is Goldberg gonna be here?" And I'm like,
it's like, "No, you're a few years too early, buddy."
Yeah, this is exactly. This is the wrong company. He'll get here a little bit later, right after 19. But,
if only you could have traveled in time and told him that.
And the big deal was that the company had just been in Australia, and The Rock was there, and Triple H and all the big guys. But then The Rock was getting ready to go film Scorpion King. So for Monday Night Raw, it's like he's probably not going to make the jump. He's probably going to go from Australia to LA and start shooting his film. He's not going to come up to Seattle. And so it's Monday Night Raw. Triple H comes out right at the beginning, cuts a promo, and then The Rock's music hits, and people go just fucking ape shit in there. And I know there's clips of it on YouTube because I've rewatched it. I used to have it on VHS because I had recorded the whole episode. And he comes out there and just embarrasses Triple H on the microphone, and it was so awesome to see that because we just didn't know what was going to happen. And of course, they have all the pyro and everything else they normally do for Raw. And I remember telling people after the fact, I'm like, that thing was like a rock concert. That's what it was like. I mean, the crowd was so hot and so into it, and they had such great matches. And Brock Lesnar was there. He was being managed by Paul Heyman at the time because he was new. Came and sat in the audience for a while, kind of watching the matches or whether the storyline was. But even my little guy, he got caught up in it. He was like, "Oh yeah," and he just yelling at the players and the performers. And fast forward to my other young man that had he was born with Down syndrome. Those wrestling fans were so good to him. There's times when I was kind of tired from my day job or whatever. It's like I wasn't really feeling it. But it's okay. We're gonna go to at the time Key Arena here in the main arena and go watch this wrestling thing. And I'd sit here. Jeremy, that was his name. He'd sit here, and then the wrestling fans that were like way into it, and they see him because he's standing up the whole time. I mean, he's yelling at the wrestlers, and those guys would start engaging him in a really genuine way. They weren't making fun of him or anything. Yeah, isn't John Cena an asshole or whatever? And I can't see you and all this kind of stuff. and they're so, and they don't even know him. They just other wrestling fans, and they so carried that moment for him all the way through the next couple hours. I could just kind of sit back and just kind of veg out. But it was so nice to see how people, really engaged him and treated him with respect, and we're just another fan. That's what it was. Yeah. And as beautiful. So I learned a lot from going to some of those wrestling events, and I was way way off on the kind of people that show up at those things.
I've heard that.
Yeah, glad to report that.
I told you this last week, I think, but as big as a wrestling fan I have never been to a live show. Like never once. I've never once been to a live. But that's the thing. I've been to one concert in my life. I just haven't been to a lot of. I know, man. And it's not because I love music. I don't know why. Like throughout my life, I just haven't gone to shit. I don't know.
I got many a compliment today on my Purple Rain shirt.
Oh my gosh, man! I was just banging that in the car the other day. To be honest with you, like legit, I was screaming Purple Rain. That dude, I'm gonna learn that guitar solo one day. I swear to God. I'm gonna learn that guitar solo.
I mentioned it because I was fortunate enough to see him twice.
Oh, what years?
So I saw him once, and I think it was 2000. Okay. He was doing another tour, and he was playing all his hits. And then I saw him, Mark, maybe you remember, it was here at the Tacoma Dome. I think that might have been 2013 or 2011, 12, like right around there.
Yeah, 13 sounds familiar to me. when he was in Tacoma. But you're right, that early 2010-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
cashed in a
he
lot
came
of
on the
American
scene.
Express points.
Well, he
Tickets
came
so
on the
good.
scene and did the first like downloadable album, didn't he? Like that was a big thing. Like he came on the scene in like the
Yeah.
early 2000s, like was the first artist to have like a streaming or something like that. What was it?
Yeah, if I
I
remember,
think he did.
yeah, his new album, like if you bought a physical copy, you got a downloadable version of
Yeah,
it.
he was the first one to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something free because he was smart enough and his team was smart enough to recognize that's where the future was heading. People were going to be doing this. They weren't going to be doing physical media. So it's like, let's do both. So buy the album, buy the CD or whatever. But then here you go. Here's the digital download. What's that? What's a digital download?
Yeah.
All right, great, Mark. So what's Prince like live? I mean, you ain't got to answer that question. You can, but I'm sure he's fucking phenomenal. But yeah, good.
He's amazing. Like he's so amazing. He's one of my favorite artists, and
Complete
I think
musician.
what's like
musician.
and what's really special I think about him is like if you watch him performing live, even if you like go watch his old like concert clips and stuff, there's moments where you see him smiling, and you can just see like this joy that's in him, like while he's playing, you know, and like he just looks like, you know, like he's like the essence of like, you know, pure happiness, you know, on stage, like radiating out of him.
I mean, dude, but to perform the way he does, to write the way he does, to sing the way he does, that I mean, the musicianship of that he has. Obviously, I don't know how many instruments he played before he passed away. I know he had played a lot of them from what I've studied on him, and it's just like, but oh man, like the type of being, the type of spirit, soul you gotta have to emit shit like that. Like that motherfucker's soul was a skyscraper. Like his art, whatever you want to call it. Like wherever he pulled from, that he, you know, brought into the world, created with, that motherfucker had a well 100 miles deep. Like he pulled from such genuine and beautiful places to create this beautiful music, man. Like it's like I listen to his music, and I literally, and also I don't know if y'all know this, he is one of the few artists that like he made it a point to make all his music at a certain frequency, because I was thinking it was like 432 hertz. I remember watching this thing about him, and it was like, no, he did that because he really, that's called that they people like to call that the God frequency, or the frequency of the earth or the universe or whatever. It's like the general frequency of the universe or whatever like that. And so he would make his music at that frequency because he understood the effects of frequency and sound on the human mind, on the body, on the spirit. So it's like so when I learned that, I put his music on, and it's just like kind of trying to, you know, see what feeling that, just like, don't try to like think about the lyrics, don't try to like project, oh, I love this song. Like, no, just listen to the music and see how I feel after I've heard it, just objectively. And it's like, I do feel good. Like I feel better. Like it's like there's medicine, there's healing in it. Like there's this real love and artistry coming through in his music, man. It's great.
I am so shocked that you've never been to, what do you say, no concerts? And
I've been to one concert in my life.
Who was it?
It wasn't even a person. It was so I grew up in Florida, in St. Pete, Tampa area. And so there's the radio station where I grew up. It was 98.7, and they would have a concert every summer called the Last Damn Show. And basically whatever the hot artists they could get of that year, throw them all on that show. And that's what I went to. So I saw, you know, a bunch, and the 98.7 was a hip hop and rap radio station. So I saw a bunch of rappers and stuff, and R&B singers. So I don't even remember who all I saw. I think Rick Ross was there. I don't know. But yeah, it's just but also I think I've also, as much as I love music and I love wrestling and things that have great live events, I don't like live events. Like I hate crowds. I hate
Oh,
crowds. I hate really loud shit. I hate crowded spaces. Like I hate crowded bars. Like all that shit. But I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well,
it's like there's nowhere I can go have a thought. And for whatever reason, for me, I just need to be able to go somewhere and have a thought for a second. It's like if I can't have that, if just too much input, constantly input, it gets a little much. So I don't. But that's the thing. I haven't also gone to a thing where I actually loved it. That's
yeah.
the thing too. Like I went to a concert where it was just like, oh yeah, it was music. I was 14 years old. I was more interested in the girl next to me than the person on stage, obviously. So, but it's like, yeah. But anyway, go ahead.
My first concert was in junior high. Went to see Def Leppard,
Nice.
and I knew, I was like, oh my god, this is the greatest moment of my life.
See, and I love that. I love Def Leppard. I love classic rock. I love hard rock, metal. I listen to some hard shit. But but it's like for whatever reason, the thought of going to a show and actually seeing them, just like that sound. I'm just like, no. I don't get it. I was like, I love it, and it's like when I'm rocking out to it at home, the shit's turned up. When I'm in the car, the shit's turned up. I'm going like, but for some reason, something about just the people and the noise. I don't know.
so if it's the people and crowded bars, spaces, arenas, clubs, that
Yeah,
type of thing, does that also carry over to that you don't go see live sports?
yeah. I've been to one live sport game. Two. I've been to
Oh,
two. I've been to a football game and a basketball game.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, at least you're consistent.
Yeah. I make sure I cover the bases. I do one of each. All right, I did one. I did one of those. All right, I did one of those. All right, good.
Yeah, I know somebody locally as a friend of mine, and she loves certain things, but yeah, the thought of going to like a big crowded, sold out theater, she's kind of like, I would love to see the show with nobody there. That's
Exactly.
what.
I would love to see
yeah.
the show with nobody. That's how I am. I would love to see the show with nobody else there. Or at least like a
Yeah.
small group. Like if it's like a little venue's got like, couple hundred people, 300 people, like that's fine. But when you start getting to arenas and stadiums, I'm like, that's too
Oh
much,
yeah,
man. It's too
it's
much.
yeah. Oh, we went and saw Guns N' Roses.
Oh
I'm
my
trying to
God, I
think
can't
of what.
imagine what that was like. Oh my
I'm
God.
trying
I
to
mean,
think. It
great
was
show,
when
but
yeah, when they came here to Seattle, and yeah, just parking, the people,
see, I'm
and
already
then
out. You said
yeah,
parking. I'm already out. I hate it.
the older
I'm
I've gotten, the more I'm like, oh, I can't deal with the parking.
Yeah, like I'm the type of guys like I'll just pay for it. I hate driving around and looking for a fucking spot. Just where's the nearest parking garage? I'll pay the $20. I don't care. I don't want to fucking drive anymore.
But I mean, when I was younger, though, oh man, we used to go to Ozfest,
Mm,
and that's always a good time.
yeah.
I've seen Rob
Yeah.
Zombie,
You know what I would like to go to? I would like to go to a Deadhead show. That looks cool.
yeah.
That
Oh
was
yeah,
cool.
Well, I mean, they're just doing some shows at the Sphere in Vegas right now. Another set of them. And I haven't been to the Sphere yet, but
I know that
that
sphere looks
looks.
freaking awesome.
It does. It looks trippy as heck. It's
Hmm.
super expensive though. On top of
Yeah,
it.
my Amber was just my partner was just telling me about the tickets for that sphere is it's up
yeah.
there.
That's another
Yeah.
thing. Like the tickets are, they're
Exactly. So
getting
you
out of
want me
they're
to
getting
pay
out of
five
hand
hundred
now.
dollars to be frustrated for 2 hours? No, but also beautiful music, obviously too. So
Yeah, I know, like what Halcon was talking about going to, and you saw Guns N' Roses here, and I've been to, especially as a media person, I've been to a lot of stadium shows, a lot of arena shows, and it's a mission. You have to plan out like what you're going to do so that you have maybe
Oh
less
yeah,
stress and a better time than the other way
mm,
around.
yeah.
But for me, just being the way I am, I love that feeling once I'm actually at, let's say, a concert and everyone's way into it and the energy is getting rising and the anticipation, and then the band comes out and kills it. And so I live for that kind of thing. But is it kind of gross at times, like when you're general admission, you got people stinking and people pushing and shoving, and if there's a mosh pit and whatever. Now, for me, because I'm old, I don't like it. But when I was younger,
Yeah.
I'm,
I see. I
I'm
just got
all,
old early.
I was all about it. But one thing that came to mind, DREZ, for you is that what about seeing like a play, like a small
Oh
play,
yeah,
that's essentially being an
love it,
actor?
love it, love it. Yeah, all day. That's
It's
a
very
whole
controlled.
different. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like when you're at a play, it's like respect the performers. Shut the hell up.
And you're in your seat.
You know, that's
you're in your seat.
exactly. You're in your seat. Stay in your seat. Don't. Yeah. If you laugh, if you cry, obviously, if you react to something happening, it's fine. But yeah, as a person who has been on the stage and in the audience, you shut the hell up and enjoy the show.
and even that's becoming an issue, because I'm a big musical theater person that reviews stuff, and now we got these people that are entitled, and they're literally bringing food in from outside, eating it during a show. They got their phones out, things. I'm just like, what are you doing? And it's become this huge lack of respect for live performance.
I think the cell phones have and like social media is taking away people from being in the moment. They
for sure.
And it's everything. It's just so distracting.
But it's also just like there seems to be. I'm gonna sound old saying this, like, oh man, back in my day. But it's like there seems to be just there's just a general apathy towards fucking everything now. It's just like there's like a general like, I don't care. it's like, you're performing, whatever. What's on my feet? Like it's like there's a general just kind of like when we talked about the lucha, like your mask and the significance of it, the sacrity of it. It's the sacred thing. Like you watching WCW making them take off their masks. That was heartbreaking for you. Like that, it means something. I'm saying if something meant something.
And it was done so nonchalantly, like
exactly. But that's what I mean. The point I'm making. Like there's like a general just dismissal of things that truly mean something to a group of people. You know what I'm saying? Like there's, and it's just like, and I'm not. It's like like the hot topic, Snow White, right? So now they have dwarves suing Disney for not using dwarf actors or actors who are dwarves, or whatever. And it's like, so you decided not to use dwarves because you didn't want to upset dwarves. Now you pissed off dwarves because you're excluding dwarves. like, come on. So it's just like, it's like, but that's right there but that's my issue. Now we're getting a whole nother type of my issue with Hollywood and the business of that. Oh, don't get me started. That's next episode, Mark. But oh shit. But no, it's like that right there. It's like there was a story there that was resonated in people's hearts. Those characters, those scenes, like but because there's this like, oh well, we have to make sure we don't fuck up the profit margins, and we got to do this and we got to do that, and it's just like you're taking away the heart of the motherfucker, man. You're taking away the spirit of why we came to see this bitch, and it's just that thing. It's like that general just. There's something deeper than money. There's something deeper than the notoriety is going to get you. Like there's things that truly mean things to people. There are things that truly enrich the soul that should be respected and protected. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And it's like that's what I'm talking about. That general apathy towards that. The things that like when something in this world moves you, that's real shit. That's something special. And it's like there's a general kind of just apathy towards things that really have the potential to move mountains, to really move and change minds and hearts, man. Like just the general apathy. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, you're right. And then, like back to the Ray example, when he got to WWE, they put his mask back on like it never even happened.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, let's push that under the rug. Oh, it never happened. Don't worry about it. It's like, bro, you already did it, man. The damage is done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's definitely getting to a point especially with that apathy part. That again, for me, all the things that come across my desk that I do as a media person, and just as a regular person just wandering around in Seattle, that it's hard to find people that really will take the time to listen, look into, observe what something actually is from somebody else, whatever that happens to be. And instead of just putting their own onus onto it automatically, and then just saying, well, this is what it's going to be, and that's how I feel about it, so I don't basically give a shit. That's how it is. And then you can actually get into these kind of, butting of heads, and especially, I'm talking about like at the opera, at ballet, places where you think this would not happen. Why are you
fighting at the ballet?
That's what's crazy.
First off, it's just not the right setting, bro. Like
Yeah.
Like I'm not even talking about it's a show. It's just like you can't look hard with ballerinas behind you. Like it's not gonna like it's not gonna happen.
Guys in tuxedos going at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My cummerbund.
I, I don't understand. And again, for me coming up, I've been to concerts since I was 9 years old, so I know certain environments kind of invite certain things,
Sure.
but not some of these other ones. It's like, what happened to society? What happened to all this stuff? And I haven't been to like a big WWE show. I think they were here or they're coming here again with SmackDown. I haven't been to one in probably at least 10 years. Is that environment different when you go? It might be. I don't know.
Well, what's the environment at at your shows right now?
Oh, at ours?
Yeah.
At ours, our shows are amazing.
Yep. Boom. There you go. Still beauty in the world.
Yeah, because I mean, when you come to a Lucha Libre Volcanica show, I mean, it's all about family, and you can feel it. There's just a whole like family vibe there.
That connection is you can feel like it's thick out there. Like there's a real community. There's a real camaraderie happening. Yeah. See, that's what we're missing so much of, man. Like so much of what we do is based obviously off the profit and the individual gain. And it's just like, but there's when you attach yourself to something bigger, I feel like when you truly believe in something, there's treasure in that you can't get from simply trying to get ahead. You know what I'm saying? There's things about yourself, things about your being, levels you can reach when you're doing something for a reason that you believe in, instead of just trying to get more money and trying to get ahead. And that's what I feel like we forget that. Like the reason why, like I'm an actor, right? I love movies. I love movies. Love movies. You know what I'm saying? And it's like the movies that I love, top 5, let's say my top Pulp Fiction is my favorite movie of all time, right?
Oh, okay.
The reason why I love that movie is because of there's a God, now I'm can't even make the point I'm making. The point I'm making is stop taking the heart out of shit. That's the point I'm making. You know what I'm saying? Like let things be beautiful. Let things be created. Let things have a natural evolution and a maturity so that when it blossoms, it is the thing that it is meant to be. Not some shitty package, some pre-packaged shit that you just threw in there and like, oh, it'll make money. Like, let things be what they are and they'll be beautiful. Like, let it breathe, let it live, man. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just upset.
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, I love Tarantino. He's one of my favorite directors.
For sure. Yeah, he's the GOAT for me, for sure.
Oh, yeah. So my favorite is Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah?
And
that's a good team right there.
Yeah, when I was a kid,
dude, From Dusk Till Dawn is my favorite Robert Rodriguez movie.
Oh yeah, that's great.
That's my favorite one.
So when Mariachi came out, before he did Desperado, like that was just such a great movie, and he did it on a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
And then he released a book called Rebel Without a Crew, and he talked about how having a limited budget, made him use his imagination to solve problems.
Exactly.
And that's, what made it so great. And then he did the same thing when the big studio gave him the money for Desperado. He still, had all that ingenuity and imagination.
But see, that's the thing. The studio gave him the money and then they let the artist be the artist.
Yeah.
That's the difference. They gave Robert that money and look what he freaking did with it.
I'll tell you, what I used to love to do is, and again, I'm a little older, but I would watch like the Laserdisc and listen to the director commentary.
Word? That's dope, man.
Yeah, so you can, just watch the movie, but he's speaking over it the whole time, telling you how he shot this shot, what this was doing. There's a part where there's a boom mic when Salma Hayek and Antonio are on the roof. And you can see the boom mic shadow for a split second, and he's like, "Oh, forgot to edit that out,"
Yeah.
But like just hearing him, speak about how he made his movie and everything, it's really interesting and exciting.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're not well, the issue with the game right now is like that's the thing. We're not even allotted the space to create that type of shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's got to check boxes. It's got to satisfy the graph. It's got to satisfy the numbers. You got to have this type of person and this type of person, and you got to do this. It's like I was just talking to Amber about this. Amber, you know, my fiance, just talking to her about this. I'm just like, fuck, I lost my point. That's gonna happen a lot. Don't worry about it. I got a lot going on up here, but yeah. Anyway.
Well, I got to tell Colin that I can't believe that you're probably maybe one of 3 people that know what a laser disc is. I used to have a player. Before I moved out here to Kenmore. I had to get rid of it, but so I had a stack of laser discs and the whole bit. So I was definitely, I guess, a cinephile nerd.
Oh yeah, I mean that's I mean when I was a kid, we had the Beta, the Betamax. We went from Betamax to VHS to Laserdisc to DVD,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
cassettes, CDs.
You seen the whole spectrum, man.
I lived it. But I'll tell you, it was. I mean, I had an amazing childhood, just amazing. We had 2 VHSs at our house, and so
anybody out there that's below the age of 30, that's big time.
Yeah. So and what we did is when we rented a video, like you could put a piece of tape, over that little black square.
Yeah.
And so you could record it, and so we make our home. We had our own home library,
you had the thing my parents had in early 2000s, which was a full book of burnt DVDs.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that's a whole nother thing. Let me tell you. You go to Iraq or Afghanistan, all the bootlegs.
Yeah, I
bet.
Get
all the bootlegs out there.
Also in black barbershops. I remember the first time I saw Wolverine Origins in a barbershop when I was like 11, and it was a bootleg version. It was so bootleg. This how early they got it. The damn CGI wasn't done. There was literally gray blocks. Remember the scene when they're on the top and the shitty Deadpool that Ryan Reynolds played in that movie? And they're at the top and him and his brother Sabretooth are fighting and everything. The whole cylinder, the stack that they're on, whatever that is, it's all a gray block. That's what I saw. Like, you didn't even finish making the damn movie. How the hell am I watching it in the barbershop in St. Pete, Florida right now? Like, what doesn't even make any sense?
Wow, somebody leaked it early.
Yeah, in 2000.
I think like when Halcon was talking about, going from Betamax to VHS, and I remember in high school, my group of friends, we didn't like to spend the time like on a Friday night at our one friend's because he had a Betamax player. He didn't have a VHS. And most of the places that rented stuff had moved on from Beta. Yeah, they had like maybe 10 Betamax things you could rent. Everything else was VHS. So it's like, we can't go. We don't want to go to his house because we can't watch it. So we got to go to your house, or your house, or your house.
Oh my goodness, man.
I'm telling you, I mean, it was a great time. I mean, I really believe I was born at the right time just to see the evolution of everything. I didn't miss out. I don't feel like I missed out on anything.
See, that's why I always say, if I could do it again, like if somebody say, hey, you want to be reborn? I'd be like, yes. Make it so I'm a teenager in the 70s, a young adult in the 80s, and then 20s, 30s, and be the 90s. That's fine. Just let me jump back a couple, because I want to see that progression. I want to see from like 70 to 80 and then 80 to 90. Like I like watching that in retrospect. Obviously, it looks like, oh man, that's so crazy. But it's like to actually live the evolution of the country, of the culture, in during that time. I think it'd be really cool.
I mean, I think I'm probably the last generation that still played outside enough,
Oh no, that was me, 1990.
Oh, okay.
That was the last ones to go outside, man. After that, it was all indoors. Once the Y2K hit, it was all inside.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say.
Guys, it's been a great chat, catching up with everything and everything else that we've been talking about. I know some people have to get going. It's been an hour and 40 minutes, which is awesome. And I just kind of realized that.
Oh man, this could never end.
Yeah,
it's been fun, man.
Wrestling, music.
Movies. Yeah, man.
So maybe this will shoot off into another offshoot and it'll be part 2.
We branching timelines now.
Yeah, and I see like my mom had put in the chat a while ago that maybe we need to do a Prince episode next.
Hey, I'm with it. I'm a brush up on my Prince lore.
But real quick, Halcon, do you have anything coming up? Any event that you want to plug?
April 5th, the Seattle Night Markets, Lucha Libre Volcanica. It's gonna be amazing. That is a great show. It's packed every year. It's gonna be awesome.
Is that the one that has the taco trucks, the competition?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That one is gonna be good.
Nah, that's hard. You got a dope ass wrestling match in the taco competition.
Oh, man.
Come on, man.
Like that show is always good. It always draws a really big crowd. Yeah, it's amazing.
I'll have to
Kick
see if I
ass,
can
brother. Kick ass.
Yeah.
Man.
See if I can get it out there this year.
Oh yeah, me and my partner, we're going for the Lucha Libre Volcanica Tag Team Championship.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get it.
There we go. DREZ, any parting words from you, sir?
Oh man, just let it live, man. Just let whatever it is, just let it live. Everything deserves a chance. Let it live.
Got it.
Also, let's put it out there. I think I'd be bad at my job if I didn't say tonight, if you don't watch live TV, if you're one of those people that watches the day after live TV, I got an episode of Will Trent on ABC. So
awesome.
Yeah. If you got, I'm on there tonight, play Officer Randolph. So if you're watching tonight, you probably would have saw me. If you watch tomorrow, you'll hopefully see me. I think I made the cut.
Hey, we'll definitely check it out. We will definitely check it out.
Yeah, man. Will Trent. Yeah, all day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right. I'll tell the wife and kids, I know that guy.
Yeah, man. That's all. I know Officer Randolph. Like who? Nothing. Don't worry about it.
Hey, don't worry. That's what they say about me.
Hey, man. Hey, I feel. Hey,
they're like, who is that guy?
Hey, but we know we somebody though.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'll definitely check that. That's really awesome. And I can only say for me, parting words that again on Thursday, check me out at noon Pacific. Got a brand new guest I've never interviewed before. That's always exciting, and we'll see where that goes. But again, Halco Negro, DREZ Ryan, Mark Sugiyama. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much, and maybe we'll see you next time.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
much
thanks
love.
a lot.
Much love.
Bye-bye.